You are now listening to the Vitalize podcast. Hey yo, what up, family? Ooh, welcome back to the Vitalize podcast. You're here with your friendly neighborhood host, Mr. Marcus Black, and I'm so excited to see you again. Yo, before we get started, can I just hear you right now? Give a hand clap to my man, Mr. Les Thomas Sr., coming through, dropping bombs, gems, and phenomenons, all the thing last week, and doing such an incredible job, man. Only my second ever guest, but literally that's one of the homies, one of the best friends. If you don't know, man, go check him out on Instagram at Les Thomas Sr. Check him out, man. Follow his content. He's an incredible human being. He literally is appointed by the state of Oklahoma to work with the juvenile population. He also he runs like an incredible mentoring program at Millwood, his alma mater. I mean, he's doing some incredible things through the Urban Bridge and working with this incredible community in Oklahoma City. So, man, I just want to say thank you to my brother, my friend, my homie, Mr. Les Thomas. Shout out to Urban Bridge as well for what they're doing, equipping the next leaders and bridging the gap, man, from poverty to prosperity, creating opportunities in the next generation. It's beautiful. So I'm feeling good today. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm feeling good. Another reason I'm feeling good is because you can't notice yet, but give it a minute. Give me about 3 more weeks and you'll probably start to see a little subtle shift. But I have literally had some crazy health scares in the recent history that I don't like, and I ain't about that life. I'm not trying to end my life early due to my own negligence or my inability to be disciplined in one of the most important, impactful areas. I told y'all I had the vulnerable moment some weeks ago where I told you all about the journey I was going on and about my struggles as it pertained to like running and stress eating. And, you know, we really opened up and I received some great feedback from you all. That's a side note. If you guys want to send feedback, if you want to holler at your boy, of course, comment on the YouTube video, go like, subscribe, do all the things on YouTube, but also send me a message on IG, man, at mblackspeaks. Holler at your boy. Send me a message, not on TikTok. TikTok DMs are kind of weird. Send me a message on IG. I'm also on this thing called Clapper now. What up, Clapper? Shout out to the Clapper community. We out here. We in a building, fam. I'm excited to grow and know and learn so much more about you in this incredible community. But holler at your boy. Send me a message on Instagram. Send me a message on all the places and make sure that we can connect and let me know what you think. But to those of you who reached out, and you talk to me about just what the encouragement to me about continuing to show up for myself and the vulnerability expressed over my area of difficulty, that means a lot. And so you might notice, or maybe not, 2 weeks time, literally in the last 2 weeks, your boy is -1.7 on the scale. That's -17 lbs, pounds, -17 pounds for those of you who wasn't tracking with me. And I feel great. I can feel the energy shifting, and we ain't stopping now. This is just the beginning. Look forward to me telling you 117 pounds one day. And some of y'all will have been here from the beginning for the whole ride and will watch me melt or listen to me melt as maybe you hear more energy or something over the course of this time. But shout out to y'all. I appreciate you. And so I really want to get into today's topic at hand. But before I do, if you are new here, welcome to the Vitalize podcast. And I just appreciate you tapping in, taking any amount of time to listen. Listen, I promised a couple things. Number one, I will never waste your time. I ain't about that life. I will give you life. I will pour into you. I'll give you energy. So if inspiration, motivation, affirmation is your thing, you came to the right place. Your boy got you. If not, you might need to go find some coffee somewhere, and I might not be the person for you, you know, if you rather me talk like Ben Stein. I will never do that because it's not who I am. Or maybe I could just talk like Matthew McConaughey. I could give you a little bit of that too. I'm just having fun, man, with my community. I'm silly. I know those of you who joined, you know, like, what is this guy doing? I am literally just excited to be living and loving the life that I live. And so you asked me what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk to you about something more pivotal and impactful than almost anything else that I can think of. And what I want to talk to you about today is I want to serve a reminder to you to remember why you do what you do. Like if I were to title this message, I say, remember why. Just remember why. And it's so easy for us to become so discombobulated by the things that are happening in our life, right? It got so much going on in our life. There's so many difficulties. There's so many tough moments, right? There's so much adversity. We live in a perpetual state of overwhelm. The world is going bananas right now. Like when I say like everybody's overwhelmed. Everything is overwhelming. Everything is leading to drama. Like you don't got to look for it. You don't have to go find trouble these days. You don't have to go find heartache and heartbreak these days. You don't have to go and find something depressive. It literally is beating down your door through the form of these cellular devices that live next to us and are such a part of our lives. It's coming for you whether you want it or not. So what do you do with that? What do you do when you don't know what to do? What do you do when you're so overwhelmed and so overstimulated that all you want to do is quit? All you want to do is give up. All you want to do is throw in the towel. I'll tell you what you do. You got to put it down. You have to I was literally just talking to, shout out to my guy, the one and only, the incomparable Taylor Moore OKC, who brings you all of this incredible goodness with Rose Records OKC. Man, shout out to you, bro, just for being incredible. We're having this conversation and talking about the importance of retreating, the importance of giving yourself a space for your mind and your heart to gain the clarity you need, free of distraction, free of interruption, and free of anything that will pull you away from the clarity you need to proceed on your journey. And I know we all have those moments. And some of you right now, I really want you to, I want to see if you're on PAR right now, right? I've taught you guys PAR before. There's a whole episode on that, but the PAR is this little acronym I created to just, for my people who don't know what par means, you can Google it, or you can look up golf terminology. To be on par means to be exactly where you're supposed to be. But in order to, so that's like, if a hole is a par 4 hole, that means you got 4 shots to be exactly even, right where you need to be, right in the middle, right? So I want to ask you, are you on par? But with the acronym, it stands for to pause, assess, and reflect. This is how you know if you're where you're supposed to be or not. If you don't do that, if you don't give yourself that ability, you'll never know if you're where you're supposed to be. And next thing you know, you'll wake up one day in left field and wonder how you got there. My goal is to keep you from waking up in left field one day and feeling so lost and confused and not knowing how to start to get yourself back on track. And if that's where you're at today, don't worry. I got you. We're going to slowly shift your perspective and your focus, your paradigm back to where you need and want to be. Holla at your boy. So, pause means right now. This is what I want you to do. Whether you can do it right. If you can do it right now, do it right now. If you're at work and you got a minute, give yourself a minute. If you're at home, if you're jogging, this is perfect. If you're exercising, because right now, I'm going to take you on autopilot. Just let your body do what it's doing. Stay on your treadmill, stay on your trail, your walking, running trail, whatever it is you're doing. Stay where you are, but just holler at your boy and do this. Now, if you're driving, don't do this. You got to do this later. But I still want you to do it. And don't say you're going to do it and not do it. I want you to tell me right now. I want you to, if you're watching me, nod your head with your boy if you're going to do this later. If you are not watching me right now, you're listening to me, I want you to verbally commit out loud and say, I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this later. And what I want you to do is pause. In this pause, you are now giving yourself a moment to literally disconnect from the chaos of the world. You have to pause the cell phone. That's the biggest one. When you do this exercise, you got to put the phone down. Turn it off. Sometimes we don't even realize how distracted we are. I go out to eat with leaders all the time. And when I connect with leaders and we're having lunch or coffee and we're just talking through ideas and concepts, I always notice, and some of y'all have been with me before and you've seen it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If I'm with you, my phone is on the table, but it's face down. Why is it face down? Because if it's an emergency, like my contact, my wife or somebody, something's going on with my kids, I'll hear it buzz and I'll know okay, if it buzzes one time, it's fine. But if it buzzes a few times back to back, I'm going to check and make sure it's not my wife. If it's not, I'll just put it down. But here's why that's important. Not every notification makes your phone buzz. They just pop up on your screen. And even if you put it down and you're not looking at it, out of the corner of your eye, you just see that little thing move, you run like a person, like a chicken with the head cut off. You just flocking to that phone. Because you have to know what the notification was. Because inside, you don't even realize how addicted we are. The neurotransmitters are ready to fire your pleasure sensors from somebody liking your post, somebody commenting on your post, somebody subscribe, somebody. Man, We run into it. Put it down. Turn it off if you can. This don't have to be a 5-hour process. You're like, I can't afford to do that. Can you give me 5 minutes? Can you get, not me. I don't need it. I'm going to do this regardless. Can you give you 5 minutes? I'm telling you, you're worth the time investment. Pause. And when you pause and you have eliminated the distractions that are taking you and that are creating this disdain and this anxiety that's building up in your gut, then you need to letter A, assess. All right, to assess, I'm looking around. What is the state of my life at the moment? Where am I? Am I where I wanted to be? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I off track? Am I on track? Am I progressing towards my goals? Like, assess just means to take stock of what's happening around you so that you have an awareness. Sometimes you don't know if you're hitting a goal or not, or if you even on the way because you have not assessed. This would be like, we got these incredible things called GPS now, but let's say the navigation system went down. You don't have navigation. You got an actual road map. This would be like just getting in the car, mapping out where you want to go, but then never checking the map again to make sure you're still on track. You come up to a crazy fork in the road and you think you're still on track, but you take the wrong turn. But if you ain't look at that map and you don't have GPS telling you what to do, you should probably in the next hour double check. Otherwise, you will wind up in New York City and you're meant to be in Malibu. And you're looking at all these buildings and these structures wondering, how did we get here? And that's because you did not take the time to assess whether you were on track, off track, headed in the right direction. It's like my man Jermaine, shout out to you, Mr. J. Cole, the urban philosopher. The good news is, homie, you came a long way. The bad news is, man, you went the wrong way. I don't want that for any of you. I don't want you to be in a position where you went the wrong way. Assess, pause, assess, and then the R in PAR is reflect. Reflect. What does a reflection mean? To look back. To look back and to ask yourself, when I began, what was my heart? What was my deepest desire? What was my why? What was it when I was where I was that led me to where I am right now? Because without reflection, I do this every year. At the end of the year, I have a time around Christmas time where everybody's kind of taking off anyway. And I have some alone time. I take off by myself. And with this alone time, I reflect on the year. And I go back to the beginning. I go through the highs, the lows, the ons, and the offs. And then I go back to the beginning of my journey. And I ask myself, what did you want? What is it that you set out to accomplish? Why did you set out to accomplish that? And in that reflection, it will let me know if I'm on par or not, if I'm where I'm supposed to be, if I'm where I want to be, or if I'm just out here floating through space, asleep at the wheel. Shout out, shameless plug. If you've been asleep at the wheel, holla at your boy. I got a book, Asleep at the Wheel, Taking Back Control of Your Life to help you get back on track. But reflection is a key to making sure that you're not doomed to repeat a negative history, that you learn from it, or that you are still doing the things that you committed to do. Why am I talking to you about remembering why? Because everything in you and everything around you is going to fight you tooth and nail to take it from you. Everything around you is going to fight to steal your passion and your purpose from you. Now, whether you are a believer or not, I know we all have different belief systems, but most people can believe in dualities. There's good, there's bad. Within the Christian faith, we have a savior and we have an adversary. No matter what your faith is or your belief system, most people can agree there are dualities at play. There's yin and there's yang. There's good and there's bad. There's this and there's that. There's opposing forces pulling you, right? That said, those opposing forces, there will be things that will pull you off your path to purpose, that will pull you away from what you want most. And the crazy thing is, the scariest thing is, you won't even realize it's happening. You won't even recognize until one day you wake up and everything you see or nothing you see looks like what you wanted it to look like when you set out. This is where you see organizations who start out and they have these huge hearts for compassion. You see this a lot with nonprofit organizations that want to do so much good in the world. And they set out that way. But over time, there's just a slow drift and a slow fade and a slow drift and a slow fade. And then the person who created this incredible organization to do more good in the world gets reports, and he doesn't even, or she doesn't even recognize the organization that they created. They don't even recognize. How do we even get here? How do we get to the point that we're not even anywhere near accomplishing or fulfilling the mission we set out to do? Maybe if you look back over your life and you ask yourself now, are you even close to fulfilling and accomplishing the mission that you set out to do? Or have you got lost in the sauce? And let's make it real. Can I come down your street? Can I keep it real? I'm like my man's President George Washington on Hamilton. Can I be real a second? For just a millisecond. And thank y'all for those verbalizations. Thank you for those yeses. Thank you for those head nods. But I want to let you know, whether you said I could or I couldn't, hey, yo, this is my show. I'm going to be real whether you like it or not. So if you don't like real, then this might not be the place for you. But I'm just kidding. This is all family, and I know you're here. And if you made it to this point, that let me know you really family. And so you're rocking, and you're here because you are attracted to real. Real recognize real. And so that's why you're here. And so shout out to you for being real, for making it to this point, right? But in being real a second, for just a millisecond, I want to talk about this game that we played, this dance. It's almost a necessary evil. From my last podcast episode, I took a clip and I posted it on my Instagram. Go check it out if you want to. About trusting your own intuition and following your voice and not listening to everybody else and not being so confused and lost in the sauce over what everybody else is doing in the world around you, and about not literally comparing yourself to the people that you see on the internet. Don't compare yourself ever. And I made this, but social media has become a game that if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be an influencer, if you want to be a thought leader, if you want to grow a brand exponentially with tools put in place, equipped to help you do so, social media is almost a dance or a game that you got to play, right? Now, you don't have to. You don't have to live in the modern age and use the internet and technology and any of those things. If it works for you another way, then do what works for you. But the majority of us are in this. And so when you get on social media, people don't realize, I know I'm talking to my entrepreneur spirits now. I'm talking to the people who may be working at a job, trading their time for money for somebody else, but with a dream inside, hoping and praying and wishing that just one day I can walk away from this job and I can do something that I love, that I care about, that sustains me. I can just do that at some point. I feel you. And in so doing so, you play this game and you dance this dance. And when you dance this dance, it starts to do things that you don't recognize it does. It starts to shift your perspective and your paradigm from your mission and your message. And it starts to push you into this game that everybody's playing, this race to become the biggest influencer, this race to have the most followers, this race to be so notable and loved by so many people, right? To have all of these followers, to build this platform, this profound platform that performs and converts to business and sales, right? But why is it that we play the game? Some people would say, like, you just want to be famous, or you just want attention, or you just insecure. And for some people, that is the place. For some people, insecurity drives them. For some people, they do allow the holes that they have been built in their life from negative past experiences and traumas to make them long to be loved and appreciated by the masses. There's a demographic of people in existence like that. But I would contend that for more people, that's not the case. For more people, I'm playing this social media game and I want all these followers, not because I care about people following me. I want the leverage to be able to take to companies, corporations, brand partnerships, sponsorships, and deals to be able to provide the lifestyle for my family and I to build a legacy that outlives us so that I can live life on my terms, so that I can live free, so that I can build the life that I love to live, so I can live in love. Like, there's so many of you who are there, and I know what that's like, and I want to encourage you that, like, it's a beautiful thing to want to create legacy. It's a beautiful thing to show up for yourself, with your gift, and to create something that outlives and outlasts you. But here's the fatal flaw in the entire design. I will illustrate this point by sharing something I heard from Kendrick Lamar, and I'll never forget it. If you don't know who Kendrick Lamar is, K. Dot, he's an urban philosopher, better known as a rapper from South Central Los Angeles. He is from LA, and Kendrick, from Crenshaw to be exact. And Kendrick Lamar was telling a story. He's an incredible storyteller. He's telling a story on one of his albums. And he was walking down the street. So I was walking down the street, and he sees an older lady. When he sees this older lady, she's bent over like she's lost. She's discombobulated. She's disoriented. She's looking for something. She's bewildered. She's hornswoggled. I can just keep going with these words, right? She's down here looking for something. And he's like, "Oh my goodness, ma'am, are you okay? Is everything okay? Is everything okay, ma'am?" He keeps asking, you're looking for something. You look lost. Are you okay? Are you okay? You're looking for something. You look lost. Are you okay? Have you lost something? Finally, when he asks the question, have you lost something? The older lady looks up at him and says, "Yes, your life." Oh, what? Rewind. Wait a minute. He asked the question, "Have you lost something?" And she says to him, "Yes, your life." And I believe this was symbolic of the nature of us, those life-giving, caring people who see plights and problems in the world and want to show up and change them. But sometimes the very system that you are showing up to fix, the very system that you're showing up to serve, the very system that you're showing up to impact and make a difference in, totally consumes you, and you lose yourself in it while trying to help it. This is something you see with politicians. They get in, people talk about all politicians are corrupt. I don't believe that. I believe most politicians get into policy and office because they believe that that is the appropriate way to create change. And then once you get in a system that does have its fatal flaws and brokenness, they get so consumed by it and they get lost playing the game. So what does this mean for you? A lot of us get lost playing the game. And the reason I'm talking to you about this is because this resonates with my own heart. I had a season here recently. So toward the end of 2022, I had a season of depression. Now, I'm not a person who normally struggles with depression. I've struggled with anxiety my whole life, but depression was a new one for me, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. Yeah, we can talk about it. If you have dealt with these things, it's okay, man. It's okay not to be okay. I know many of you turn to me as a leader, as a thought leader, as a coach, as a companion, as a guide. But you need to know that every human being on the planet, no one is exempt, and we all face very similar ills and issues in this life. So I'm saying this to you to let you know that if you're not okay, that's okay. But I also want you to know that it's going to be okay. And if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out. Say something if you need to. Never suffer in silence, right? So here I was, and I was in this place, and I came out of that place. And when I came out of that place, I was determined, dead set on getting back to what it is that I do best, which is connecting with you, which is doing the podcast, speaking on stages, like leading, sharing, like just touching people. And when I got to this point, I noticed that things were a little different this time. It was like harder to find my words. That's never been a thing. Like I wish you could see what it's like in my head when I do these things. Some of you probably feel like I got a whole page of like three dozen notes right here. You can ask my engineer to vouch. Like I haven't the first note. Most of the time when I come in, what we talk about is from the overflow of or abundance of my heart. So all the stories, all the anecdotes, all the supporting facts and figures are things that just live inside of me from the study that I do outside of here. I prepare every day so that when it's time to do this, it's just in me. This is what I believe, right? So there isn't all of that. But going back to just knowing, like, we get lost in the sauce, right? So the words were harder to come by. They weren't flowing like they are now. They weren't, and I was like, something's a little different, but it's okay. But I just kept doing it, kept showing up, kept making videos and content. But something just didn't feel right. Something didn't feel like myself. And maybe you guys can attest to having been in that space a time or two in your life before. And so I found myself pressing. There are some things that happened in my professional life. We took a couple of setbacks here, a couple losses here that put us in a position to have to figure out now. Now I'm in a figure out standpoint of trying to figure out how to make up the gaps, how to continue to lead, how to continue to provide, how to continue to eat, how to continue to take care of my family. In that pressure, it began, like I said, many of you are putting myself in a position where, all right, how do I leverage the community I built? How do I leverage the influence I have? How do I leverage and how do I continue to play this game, this social media game, to figure out the facts and the figures and the trends that will open up the masses to my account so people can see what I have to offer, so that I can gain the leverage I need, so that I can bless my family economically, financially, so that I can continue to live life the way I want to live. I know you've been there. And what I learned in that process, and I just came to this revelation literally yesterday, is that now a few weeks ago, I decided to stop focusing on that and just get back to my core message. But why? The why punched me in my gut over the last couple of days. I was on a podcast. I was on someone else's podcast. Matter of fact, I was on the Addicted to Growth podcast by Jean Richard, an incredible thought leader. Shout out to you, Miss Jean Richard. If you listening to your voice, shout out to you for dropping the podcast. It's taking off, doing great things. That's a person who had a dream, who had an idea, and who put the gift on the table and made it real. Let's go. We can make it real. So on her podcast, she asked an incredible series of questions that led me to this place where in the middle of her podcast, like I've been doing this more lately. Like I cried for the first time on my podcast a few weeks ago, just looking at all I've accomplished, but I cried on hers too. Because the series of questions she asked me had to do with like, why do you do this? Like, man, how do you continue to show up for us so big, so bold, so courageously when you have so much going on in your own life? And in that moment, I started to think about it, and I started to be like, man, I danced with death before. We did the tango, and I don't give a dang about none of this other stuff. I was reminded that I don't give a good gosh darn, that's saying it politely, about no dang followers. I don't care about no followers. I don't care about none of that stuff. I don't care about no clout. I don't care about no trends. I don't care about no sounds and no audio. I care about people. I care about you. And maybe you felt like nobody cares about you. Nobody sees you. Nobody listens to you. Nobody's concerned. Maybe you even had a harrowing thought of like, who would care if you weren't here? Well, I would care. You matter to me. And when I said that, and then she asked me right after that, how do you want to be remembered? And I was like, wow, you just gonna do this to me, huh? You just throwing off, just hitting me with these cannons in my core. And I said, I want to be remembered as a person who gave everything away for the people that he loved, which is all of you. I want to be remembered as a person who took everything given to me, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. And I made the best, most glorious cake I could, and I went and served that to the entire world. A cake filled with love, with hope, with life. Like, you know, like I just want, with everything inside of me, to take the pain that I went through and to give that pain a purpose by packaging it and serving you. And every people, every group, every race, every creed, every color all over the planet, I just want to serve people. I want to see, like Nipsey Hussle, another one of my mentors, I said this on her podcast. He asked the question to his followers when they were asking, like, how did you get successful? And he's talking to them and he's asking them these series of questions and he's talking to them about the importance of saving and investing. But he said, where have you ever represented hope where the hopeless were at? And then I became overwhelmed with emotion again because like I want to represent hope where the hopeless are. I want to represent love where those who feel unloved gather. I want to represent life. I want to be a light in the darkness. That's why all of this. That's why the microphone and the cameras and the lights, that's cool, fine, and dandy. Ain't about none of that. It's about you. I do this for you because that is what I'm on the planet to do. I'm on the planet to serve you. I don't care about no none of that. If I could just every day of my life know that I reached you, that I impacted you, that when you wanted to throw in the towel, I tell you, I throw it back. I literally cared for you. When you didn't feel like you had anybody to listen, I listened to you. When you felt like you needed a positive word, I gave wisdom to you. I served you. And that's what building a life I love living looks like. I had this revelation. And so I broke down with emotion yesterday, just realizing like, man, I've been struggling trying to play this game, trying to figure out the trends and figure out the TikToks and all the social medias and the algorithm. I don't give a dang about no algorithm. I don't care about none of that. I care about you. I don't know how many ways to say it. And the day I get more concerned with a dang social media platform than I am with the core message in my heart, which is taking you, shaking you by your shoulders and helping you realize how vital your life is, helping you realize how incredible you are, helping you realize that you have a gift that the world needs, that somebody is sitting in the seat that you used to sit, a seat in which you sat and they don't see their way past it. And I want to help you help them. I want to equip you. I want to serve you. I want to inspire you. I want to motivate you. I want to spur you into action to go and build the life you love living. That's what I'm here for. So the question on the table is, I just gave you my why in a nutshell. And I was reminded of that. So you're going to still see content. You're going to still see the podcast. You're going to still see the social media posts. But what you won't see is me trying to play no games and figure out no algorithms and wasting no time on that, because I ain't got time for that. It's about people. That's what I got time for. That's what I care about. So what about you? What is your why? Do you remember? Do you remember why you started? Are you so consumed with the pain and the hurt? Are you so consumed with the difficulties and the dilemmas? Are you so consumed with the politics and the division and all of that? Are you so consumed with the things that do not give you life but drain you that you can no longer remember why you started to begin with? What is your why? And somebody need to go on a journey to remember that. Pause, put the phone down, turn off the TV, get off the phone, get off the internet, assess where you at. Where are you? Are you on track, off track? Reflect. Where were you in the beginning? What made you start? What were you going through, or what were you feeling that made you create that business? What were you going through that made you start that podcast? What made you start writing that book? What made you start the coaching business? What made you start that career? What made you start that family? What made you get into that relationship? What is your why? And when you can remember that, you will be well on your way to living not only a fulfilling life, but living a life on mission, living a life on purpose, living a life that impacts people outside of yourself, living a life that creates a legacy, living a life that's fulfilling inside of you, living a life that touches people all over the world, living a life that creates a ripple effect. So I'm challenging you, get up and remember your why and get out here and keep putting in the work, keep taking the steps, keep doing what you know how to do, and keep going and building a life you love to live, because you can. Vitalize.